Okay. So I recently got back from America and I'm just here to show off my absolute haul that I brought back with me. Most of this is just going to be stuff that we didn't get in Australia or just like in the PAL region in general. A lot of older stuff. Um, as well as just some like fancy little goodies that just had maybe alternate covers, some steelbooks, stuff like that. So I'm going to start off with the DS games. We got Radiant Historia. So this is one that never came out in Australia. Good thing about the DS is that it is region free, so you can just pick this up and play it without having to worry too much. Then we've also got its sequel, just a good Atlas developed, well, Atlas published at the very least, game. This one's still sealed. It's really surprising that we never got this game in PAL regions, just because I want to say that it came out towards the end of the 3DS's life cycle, so it's like well past the point where they were doing, where games weren't just coming out everywhere. We've also got Zero Time Dilemma, the sequel to 999, which is another game that unfortunately didn't come out for us, even the 999. There's more of those like kind of like visual novel style games. It's very rare to find, I mean, it's not much of a manual, but like 3DS games that have manuals. A lot of them were kind of already being phased out at that point. What should we do next? One Piece Unlimited Adventure for the Wii. So this is the very first game in the Unlimited World kind of gameplay style, where it's like more of like a traditional action RPG starring the One Piece cast. I remember playing this when I first modded my Wii. And this one's just kind of special. I quite enjoy the story and how this played. This is also the only one of these games that is, or the only one of the Wii games that is dubbed, I believe. And this, when it came out, was coming out just after Funimation had taken over the dubbing for One Piece from 4Kids, and was the first time you got to hear a lot of different dub voices. So this is where you first got to hear Patrick Seitz as Frankie, which is very interesting. He's not a playable member of the Straw Hats in this, but he does feature in a... Actually, he might be a playable Straw. It's been a long time since I played this game. Then we have some Steelbook pickups as well as some Switch games. So we've got Final Fantasy Zodiac Age. This one did come out here. It was just a lot cheaper over there to be able to pick up a copy. Although that exchange rate, ugh. Hopefully that gets better in the future. And we've got the Crisis Core Steelbook, Switch edition, not because I cared for the Switch edition more than anything else. This was just the first version that I managed to find over here. This is something that I'm really disappointed that we never got in our region. I remember finding out that it was announced, getting so excited, and then it never came to Australia. So I'm really happy to have that in my collection. To go along with that, we also have Lightning Returns. This is a special Target exclusive steelbook packaging featuring Cloud Lightning. It is another one as a Target exclusive that just never came out here. We did get a Final Fantasy 13 steelbook here. Lightning Returns steelbook. but it was just the generic one. This one is a nice exclusive. It is a PS3 packaging, but it is sized like a regular DVD, so I'm assuming that they use the same steelbook between the two different versions of the game. To go alongside that, we also have just a regular Xbox copy of Lightning Returns. This game in PAL regions is actually a little bit expensive, and it was like barely anything over there, so I picked it up. I got a lot of weird bundles. So this is a copy of Final Fantasy 11 for the Xbox 360, and I want to say that this is actually just DLC, or like the additional content packs. But I couldn't tell you. I never really played this game growing up, but I believe that this requires maybe the base game to be able to play. To go alongside that, again bundled in with other things, we have PC versions. So all 4 discs, as well as some extra content. Nothing really too much to say about that one. Just bundled in because it was a little bit cheaper to get some of these things. Persona 5 Strikers for the Switch to get an exclusive steelbook that we never got here. It's quite a nice looking steelbook. Got more Ghana on the inside. This just adds to the list of different Persona 5 steelbooks that there are, which so many. And I want to say I have nearly all of them now, but I couldn't tell you for sure. I'd have to go through and check. Adding to the steelbooks, we've got Final Fantasy 13. Final Fantasy 12. This one's quite bunged up. It is a really older steelbook. Comes with a bonus disc. And it's like the collector's edition. This is not in the best shape just because of wear and tear from existence. It's quite old. Quite an old steelbook. A lot of them were a lot more prone to rusting from that era. I do, however, have a better version, a better copy. This one was just looked after a little bit more, no visible too much of the dings and stuff. The inside is the cast of characters. Never really been a huge fan of 12. I don't really like the switch from the gameplay from 10. But I'm open to giving it another shot at some point. A few more steelbooks. We've got the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth steelbook. So here in Australia, we got a copy that came with a deluxe edition. That came with a different steelbook featuring Zack and Cloud walking towards Midgar. But I found this nice steelbook over there. I want to say that it was probably like a Best Buy or some kind of pre-order bonus. It's just really nice and clean. There might be some nice inside art, but as you can see, it's still sealed. I don't really want to open it up just to check. We also got this thrown in. This is just a Star Wars Outlaws steelbook. Haven't played the game. I don't think most people did. It was just really cheap, so I picked it up. I picked up the deluxe edition for Final Fantasy VII Remake. This is something that I just missed out on when it came out here. We had very limited quantities. So I did not manage to get it. It has a really nice art book and a cool steelbook featuring Sephiroth. Unfortunately, DLC already used, but I want to say at this point that DLC would probably be expired anyway. It's a real nice copy of the game. And this is probably the best thing that I managed to pick up. This is a special steelbook for the 1.5 and 2.5 HD remix for Kingdom Hearts. It also features special exclusive disc artwork, which I think is really clean. Reminds me of that like minimalist Final Fantasy style. As you can see in the background for the Steelbook, it's the covers that you actually got for the regular versions of the game. This Steelbook is so clean, and I didn't even know that it existed until I was over there and searching. It was some kind of special edition of the game that we just never got in Australia. Interesting that the spine does say HD 2.5 remix when this is clearly both of those games put together. And I really like the artwork. I believe both of these were used as puzzles in Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix. Just really, really clean. Then we're getting into some just kind of different stuff. So we've got Chain of Memories. Rechain of Memories never came out on the PS2 in Australia, or just Power Regions in general. This was a US and I want to say it was actually a US exclusive release, because I think in Japan this came bundled in with their copy of Final Mix 1 or 2, one of the two of those. So I think the US was the only place that got it like an actual just physical release for this game on its own. I did pick up 2 copies just for collection purposes, because this first copy that I managed to find was a bit ratty, not in the best condition, unfortunately. So I picked up a second copy just to look a little nicer on the shelf. It's hard to find really nice looking copies of a lot of games these days for PS2, because it is getting that kind of old time. This version also came with some postcards. Featuring different artwork from the series. I actually really like this Halloween, the Christmas Town Sora, because this would have been prior to Kingdom Hearts 3 coming out, 2 coming out, I want to say. So this might have been like the first time that we actually saw this kind of Christmas-inspired artwork for Sora. We got another game that never came out here, Baden Kaito's Origins. This one's in not the best condition, but it was also a little expensive to be able to track down. We did get the other Baden Kaito's game in PAL region, but just not this one. American GameCube games really kind of trip me out. I like this little divot that I want to say was probably some kind of like place for security tags and stuff when to prevent theft back in the day, as well as the GameCube logo being on the bottom instead of on the top like they are with the rest of our games. So this is a 2-disc game. So we got those cool 2-disc trays as well as the memory card spot. All these kind of like handouts and stuff like that. I want to say that this copy that I managed to find didn't come with the actual manual, which is unfortunate, but it was the best that I could find at a price point that wasn't too over the top. I think everybody knows at this point that GameCube games are out of control. They should be a lot cheaper than they are, but because they didn't sell well, that collector's market that came due to COVID as well, it's just kind of ballooned the prices out. I'm hoping that some of the prices of stuff will come down when they start adding more to the NSO subscription service. We got a few more PS2 games. So we got Dragon Quest 8. Journey to the Cursed King. This was the very first Dragon Quest game that I ever played back in the day. So we definitely did get this one in PAL territories. It's got this like really cool exclusive US cover. You find that like a lot of those Square Enix games have alternate covers for the region. And this version also came with a playable demo for Final Fantasy XII, which was like a nice little interesting thing that we didn't get back home, I believe. I really love the memory card slots. It's like my biggest nostalgia is just being able to just throw them straight in and take them over to your friend's house so that you didn't lose your progress on anything. I kind of wish that like we could bring back memory cards just for that one purpose alone. And we got Tales of the Abyss. This game is another one that just never came out in PAL territories. We didn't get this until the 3DS remake came out. It wasn't really much of a remake, it was more of a port than anything else. For some reason, they were doing that a lot with PS2 games. Just giving them weird 3DS releases. Same thing happened with Dragon Quest VIII. Don't get me wrong, they play well. It's just definitely not as powerful a console, so. And then we've got Final Fantasy X with its US exclusive cover art. In the PAL region, we just have those white with the logo, which I think I like more. They're a lot cleaner. But for collection purposes, I really like these alternate covers as well. Which leads us straight into Final Fantasy X2. This cover kind of same energy. It looks like a graphic designer got paid an hour's worth of work to pull this one out. It's not as cool as the little logo covers, unfortunately. I do really like these black cases, though, that the PlayStation 2 games have in the US. I feel like it works better with the PlayStation 2 because it was, when it came out, that like black console with slight blue accents. So I don't know why our PAL cases are just like bright blue, which is a look, it's a vibe. We've also got the HD version, same deal in English. In PAL regions, this, I believe, was just that static white cover again. We've also picked up a memory card to go along with it because I got caught up in the nostalgia, as well as this SD card adapter for the PS2. Basically, it lets you run games straight off an SD card through the memory card slot, as opposed to having to use the hard drive mod on your modded PlayStation 2. This, I just don't know if you can get them locally, but I picked it up while I was over there just because I knew I could get it. I also picked up a copy of Hey You Pikachu. I didn't even realize that this game never came out for us. You see a lot of stuff on it online, but apparently never came out in PAL regions, or at least not in Australia, that's for sure. I also got the microphone adapter to go along with it, so I could technically play it if I have a American Nintendo 64 or one of those like cool jumper packs to be able to play them, which thankfully I do. Okay, moving on to PlayStation 1 stuff. So I picked up a few of these little demo discs just because they were kind of cool. I'd never seen really anything like them. I believe like most of the demos and stuff that we got always were on those like demo discs, like the sizzler reels, and you just get like a bunch of different demos on them. But it seems like in America they were just given out individually. So like we might have gotten stuff like this. I just don't really remember anything like this. But you've also got to factor in the fact that like when these games were coming out in Australia, we didn't really have like a huge access to the internet. So even if they were a thing, they wouldn't have been very widespread here. And we're hitting into some PlayStation 1. So we've got Final Fantasy 7. Again, that alternate cover. A lot more of those like kind of like black label games. The cases are really weird for NTSC. They have like this weird black texture in here. And if you guys know with PAL games, you have like this like proprietary like weird case with like this black inlay that just isn't a thing here. Like you've got these kind of like thicker cases for like the games that have more discs. And then they have the other size, which is just like the individual size jewel case. And I couldn't find any of those like kind of like fatter cases that we seem to have in the PAL region a lot. It's just a little interesting on that one. I'm not really sure why they don't have those like proprietary cases. And we've got Final Fantasy Chronicles. So this is a NTSC exclusive compilation. It just comes with Final Fantasy IV and Chrono Trigger. This is the first real port of Chrono Trigger that made it more accessible than the Super Nintendo game, which we didn't have in PAL either. I don't think that we got Chrono Trigger until the DS port. So kind of wild to think about, which is a little upsetting. It means that I can't find a good copy of Chrono Trigger for the SNES because I'd need to buy a US SNES console. And it's just expensive. All of these games are just like so expensive to pick up. All of those really, I want to say cult classic, Squaresoft kind of RPGs from that era. They just didn't get like a huge release. So they're pretty pricey. Even secondhand, it's going to cost you a lot to get a copy of like Chrono Trigger or Earthbound or even the original Final Fantasy VI. Just really a little bit outside of the general person's price range, which is upsetting because they are fantastic games that deserve to be played and should maybe, I don't know, get ported to a modern console like the Nintendo Switch. To go alongside that, we also have Final Fantasy Tactics. This is their version of the Platinum release, so it's like their greatest hits. It's got like this gross kind of green color. From PlayStation 2 onwards, their greatest hits would move to a like bright red aesthetic, which I also don't really like. I kind of really like our Platinum aesthetic. Makes it feel a little more premium. I also got like this greatest hits kind of thing on the jewel case. This is what I was talking about. They have smaller jewel cases. We got some of these, but not a huge lot. And even this part, like it would have had like the proprietary PlayStation symboling. So I don't know if this is like a original jewel case or not. Or if it's just a regular CD case, like I couldn't genuinely tell you. This game has recently been announced, though, to be getting a remake for modern consoles, which is nice, because this game has been kind of lost to time. And again, never came out in PAL territories. We've also got Final Fantasy VIII. Can you tell I was going through a kick thanks to the Magic the Gathering Final Fantasy set? I just picked up pretty much all of the PlayStation 1 and 2 Final Fantasy games just for those alternate covers that we just didn't get here. Same goes for Final Fantasy 9. Again, some of these cases are kind of goofy looking. I do really prefer the like slick white and just the logo aesthetic that we had in PAL territories. But the trade-off was that their games ran faster than ours. But they also went to the effort of making some of them harder. It was, I don't know, really a weird thing going on. A few left to go. We've got Dragon Warrior 7, so the game before the PS2. This would be the last one that would be called Dragon Warrior before they changed the name to Dragon Quest. Just another one that we never got here in PAL territories. Chrono Cross, the pseudo sequel to Chrono Trigger. I never actually played this. Because weirdly enough, it's another game that we just never got in PAL territories. Makes sense though, given that we never got Chrono Trigger until the DS, so they thought, why would we? We don't need to port this. We don't need to release this for everybody. There was a lot of that going on in the PS1 Nintendo 64 era, where there was just a bunch of games that we never got. This did get that remake with the Radical Dreamers version, but I still have not gotten around to playing it. Because they stopped making physical releases for a lot of these games. We also have Final Fantasy Anthology. So this is an interesting one because we did get a game called Final Fantasy Anthology in PAL territories, but it was not Final Fantasy V and Final Fantasy VI. Our copy had, I believe it was Final Fantasy IV and Final Fantasy V. And we had Final Fantasy VI released as an individual standalone game. And Chrono Trigger just never made the jump. Interesting to change things up like that. And then, because I was over there, I had to pick up a copy of Legend of Legaia, my favorite game of all time. Maybe it's nostalgia, but I really like the just simplified aesthetic of the story and the characters. Only having the 3 party members just made you care about them a little more, I believe. In my opinion, I really like the capturing and magic system, that kind of like pseudo fighting game aesthetic. So I've been picking up every copy of this that I can to have all of the like different regional variants, different covers, because it is my favorite game of all time. This is a game that I would love to see get ported to something that wasn't the PlayStation 1, because this game has literally never made it off of the PlayStation 1. This game is shockingly hard to find in PAL territories for a reasonable price. It did get a sequel on the PlayStation 2 that I didn't really rate very high. But I'd love to see this get some love. The music in this game is really good. The US version of this game was made unnecessarily more difficult. They, I think, like quartered the gold that you would get from battles, ramped up HP for like nearly every enemy. This in America, the US version of this game, the NTSC, it is, I want to say, unlikably hard. I much prefer the PAL version with, even though it runs a little slower, just that traditional, not forced grinding, just like, I don't know, it just feels really good. But yeah, this game getting a port or a remake would be lovely, but the problem with that is that I don't even know what company would own the rights to this game anymore. That's how old and uncared about this is. And then to finish it off, we just got a couple more games that I picked up just as I got home, just because they were like really cheap from a local store that I got right after I got back. So we just got a copy of Fable 1 for the original Xbox and the triple pack. I think both of these games cost me like $2 a piece. They're just good, solid pickups for that price. I kind of miss them doing stuff like this where they would bundle up a bunch of different indie games together and release them in physical media. I'd love if the Switch would start doing this more, but I understand it's not going to happen. And then Fable is just a good time. Just always worth adding a copy to your collection. I don't have a huge Xbox collection, but I'm wanting to change that soon. Thanks so much for sitting with me, looking at everything that I picked up while I was over there.